All right, welcome back to ABA exam review and the continuation of our RBT practice exam series, where we're going through another set of questions together and breaking them down. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Please subscribe. Check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials, including our combo pack. When you pass your exam, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. Let's get going. During team brainstorming sessions, Harry often interrupts colleagues. The team decides to reinforce Harry at the end of every 10-minute interval in which he does not interrupt anyone. Over several meetings, Harry's interruptions decrease significantly. What differential reinforcement procedure is being used to decrease Harry's interruptions? So we know immediately it's a differential reinforcement question. And for your RBT exam, you're going to want to know three primary DR strategies. That's going to be the alternative strategy, incompatible strategy, and other strategy. The first question you want to ask yourself with differential reinforcement is, am I teaching a replacement behavior? Because if you are, it has to be an alternative or incompatible strategy. The DRO, or the differential reinforcement of other behavior strategy, doesn't teach a replacement. So in this case, if Harry is interrupting colleagues and Harry is getting reinforced when he does not interrupt anyone, what is reinforced? Well, it's the absence of the interruptions. They're not targeting anything specific to replace it. They just don't want Harry to interrupt anymore. And so when we are just targeting a behavior for it to not happen, and we're going to reinforce when a behavior doesn't happen, what differential reinforcement strategy are we using? When we look at A and B, differential reinforcement of alternative behaviors or incompatible behaviors, both strategies are going to teach a new behavior. Remember, we're not teaching anything new here. We're reinforcing for a behavior not happening. So when we're reinforcing for the absence of a behavior, we're using a differential reinforcement of other behaviors strategy. And that's the easy way to think about it. Am I teaching a replacement? It's going to be DRA or DRI. If I'm not teaching a replacement and I'm reinforcing for a behavior not happening, it's going to be a DRO. And then differential reinforcement of higher rates of behavior is a strategy, but it's not necessarily one you need to know for the RBT exam. A new hire is learning a complex data entry system at their new company. To minimize mistakes, the supervisor immediately points to the correct fields on the screen before the associate can enter the data. Over time, the supervisor gradually reduces these prompts as the associate becomes more proficient. Which teaching method is demonstrated by the supervisor's pointing? So we are looking specifically at the supervisor's pointing. That is what the question wants to know about. The teaching method demonstrated by the supervisor's pointing. So let's think about when that's occurring. We know we have a new hire, they're learning this new system, and we're trying to minimize mistakes. So immediately you're starting to think, okay, trying to eliminate or minimize mistakes. To do that, the supervisor points to the correct answer before the associate can engage in a response. So if we're showing or demonstrating the correct response before giving the client an opportunity to respond, what are we doing? Well, we're trying to prevent errors, and that is what is happening here. The supervisor wants to minimize mistakes. They want to prevent errors. What teaching method is demonstrated by trying to prevent these errors? A, discrete trial training. It's unclear if the supervisor is using discrete trial training. It doesn't make it obvious by any information we have. So picking DTT is not necessarily going to be the best answer based on our information. What about B, errorless teaching? Yes, errorless teaching is exactly what it sounds like. We're trying to prevent errors from occurring. So the supervisor is pointing to prevent and minimize mistakes and not even letting the associate respond incorrectly. They are errorless teaching. C, task analysis involves breaking down a behavior into steps. We haven't broken down this behavior into steps. And then naturalistic teaching or incidental teaching is using naturally occurring situations to teach. This is not a naturally occurring situation. The hire is being taught explicitly this data entry system. And how are they being taught? Well, through errorless teaching. The supervisor is not allowing the new hire to make mistakes. At a behavior clinic, Jean, a new client, appears calm until staff members begin interacting with other clients. As soon as this happens, Jean starts complaining about feeling ill. The staff quickly respond by checking on Jean, offering support and asking follow-up questions. Over time, Jean's complaints become more frequent whenever the focus moves away from her. Which function is most likely related to Jean's behavior? When we think about function, we're thinking about why behavior is happening or what is maintaining that behavior. Why is that behavior occurring? What is the person gaining or getting rid of? Now, in this situation, we have Jean, who's apparently calm until staff members are interacting with other clients. When this happens, Jean complains about being ill. Now, that is our antecedent to the staff doing what? Well, responding by showing Jean and offering support and asking follow up questions. And this is doing what? Well, it appears to be reinforcing Jean's complaining about feeling ill because now Jean is complaining more frequently when the focus moves away from her. So, what is Jean getting out of complaining? Well, it appears she's getting a lot of attention, and that appears to be reinforcing the behavior. So, the function most likely related is pay attention. Jean isn't escaping anything. She's actually trying to get people to pay attention to her. She's not obtaining a tangible, right? They're just giving her the attention. She's not gaining any tangible item. And it isn't automatic because it is socially mediated. If it's socially mediated, it can't be automatic. The function most likely related to Jean's behavior is going to be attention. Jason goes over to his grandma's house for lunch. His grandma makes the best chocolate chip cookies, but she tells Jason that he can only get a cookie once he finishes all of his lunch. What strategy is represented here? Okay, pretty straightforward question. Strategy question. We know Jason goes to grandma's house for lunch. Grandma makes cookies. She tells Jason, you only get a cookie if you finish all of your lunch. So she's established a contingency. A contingency is that if then statement. If you do this, then you get this. That says if you finish your lunch, then you get chocolate chip cookies. So grandma is using the less preferred or lower likelihood behavior of finishing lunch. And then she's trying to reinforce it or encourage it with the consequence of getting chocolate chip cookies, which is going to be the higher preferred or more likely behavior. So, what strategy is represented there? A task chain or a task analysis. Again, we're not breaking the behavior down. We don't have a chain, so it can't be A or B. Fluency is very important because if you know what a task chain and what a task analysis is, those aren't even options for you, and you can start to move quicker. C, Premack principle. The Premack principle, also called Grandma's Law, is the opportunity or the use of the higher preferred or higher likelihood behavior as the consequence for the lower likelihood behavior. So in this case, eating the lunch gets the cookies. You can engage in the cookies if you finish your lunch. That is the Premack principle. The high P request sequence is not the opposite, but it kind of is because with high P, we're trying to get all our high probability behaviors first to build momentum. In this case, grandma is using the Premack principle. You're tracking how many times your significant other picks up their phone while you're watching a movie with them. You take data for 20 minutes and break that 20 minutes into 1 minute intervals. If your significant other touches their phone during an interval, you record a response. What type of measurement are you using? So a measurement question, and we immediately can get an idea that it's discontinuous. Why? Well, you're watching a movie and you're taking that time of watching a movie and just taking a sample of the time, right? You're taking data for 20 minutes, not necessarily the whole movie. And then you take the 20 minutes and you break it into intervals. So it appears to be some sort of sampling or interval recording, which are discontinuous. So now it's our job to figure out what type of discontinuous measurement is it? Well, the key there is when are you recording a response? With partial interval recording, a response is recorded if the behavior happens at any point during the interval. With momentary time sampling, a response is recorded if the behavior happens at the end of the interval. And with whole interval recording, a response is recorded if the behavior happens the whole interval. In this case, if the significant other touches their phone during an interval, you record a response. So all it takes is a brief second of touching the phone and it counts. So what type of measurement are you using? Well, A, partial interval recording. If the behavior happens at all during the interval, you're going to count it. Play check and momentary time sampling are both occur at the end of the interval, and we're looking at the entire interval. And then whole interval recording would be if the significant other touched their phone the entire interval, which is not the case. This is going to be partial interval recording. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe on YouTube. Check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials. When you pass your exam, please let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. See you soon.